In my continuous quest to bring you the best content here on the inner tubes. Yeah. Sometimes. Some people actually asked me about this little robotic arm that I designed and built a gabillion years ago. And I never really thought about it. I can't even. I know I designed this. It was just a bunch of trial and error and trying to make it smaller, more efficient. And but I built that crater. I started building that crater. Got to be 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. And this arm was part of that, this robotic arm. And the entire purpose of this robotic arm, I'm going to press the button here because it takes a couple of milliseconds before it kicks in, because that's the time delay of the program I put in there. And I didn't bother changing the program for this video because it's for my, but there it goes. So this program, basically XYZ, or, well, it's not even XYZ, motor 1, 2, and 3. One for the turntable, one for the lower arm, and one for the upper arm. And some people said, hey, that's really cool. And I'm going, oh yeah, I guess it is. I mean, I built it such a long time ago and it was lost in the box for the longest time. But some people are interested. So, in order to make my fans happy, which is what I like doing, I decided to actually make a video about it because I had to remember exactly how I did it. And there's a lot of, I won't say useful techniques in here, but there are useful techniques that I gleaned off of others. Again, I stand on the shoulders of giants who have inspired me to build wonderful things in my past and still continue to inspire me to this day. The Technic Inspirations, I mean, it was such a long time ago when I was doing hardcore Technic robot building and stuff like that. My buddy Steve Hasenplug, just one of my most favorite people, one of my most favorite builders in the community. Still to this day, he's still very prolific building Technic and robotic stuff. Absolutely astounding. Very happy that I got to meet him and call him a friend. Other people in RTL Toronto, when we were having our robot competitions, I mean, seriously. I don't think I would have entered the dark ages if I hadn't stumbled across RTL Toronto, but Derek and Callum and my friend Jeff, utterly wonderful builders, Kaon and Oliver, and even going back, and I'm going to forget a lot of names here, but Rob, both of them, Ian, my admiration for Ian knows no bounds. He's one of my most favorite builders of robotics and Technic of all time. Probably because he's also, appreciates the RCX as much as I do. So, but anyway, enough gushing about the people who just always inspired me. So that's the robotic arm, and so instead of taking it apart to show you how I built it, and people who know Technic can say, hey, I know how you built that. But for a primer, as Jodie Foster would say in Contact, as a primer, we'll just kind of push this thing farther back. I'm just going to go through the various doohickeys, the various stages. This is the base part of it. Now, I substituted the nice little round curvy piece here with an L because yellow, I didn't have any curvy pieces in yellow. And the curvy really doesn't matter. It was an enhancement for making it look pretty. That's what that little curve is for. And L will do just fine. So basically, this is the support structure for the entire arm. And the support structure fits into an old Technic turntable. Well, actually, it should fit into a new one. I grabbed a new one. It should fit in there because I use studless ways of doing it. The only issue is, as we'll get to it, is that you have to pass through. And I want to remember her name. I want to say Jen Clark. Way back in the day, complete inspiration. Never met her, but she posted her stuff on Lugnet sometimes, and she was able to pass 3 or 4 different drivers, different what do you want to call them? Axles, power trains through this Technic turntable, and I'll have them all work. I got here max 2. So, but anyway, so this thing has to sit on top of here because I use a, let me get it really, really quick. I should have been prepared for this. Because I use this guy to pass two power trains through the turntable. So basically, let me just put this on top because it's just easier. If you spin this, that's one power train. If you have an axle coming through the center, that's a completely separate power train that doesn't care what this thing is doing. So you have basically have a gear interfacing with this bottom piece, and you have a gear interfacing with the axle that goes through. So you can pass through two power trains through this Technic turntable, which is what you need for this guy. So this goes, these 6L hinge axles go through here, and then you have to get power to the lower arm and power to the upper arm. The actual turntable you don't have to worry about because you can have an external thing that spins it, so that's perfectly acceptable. So then you have to build the lower arm, and so this is like, you guys can see the pieces. I don't have to go through the details. I'm not going to rebuild it like my buddy Jason does in his videos to show you step by step how to put these pieces together. You can change this up. Again, this little gap here doesn't need to be here. You can put the 3L studless half stud beam here. It doesn't matter. I just put these little half bushings in here just for make it look pretty. There's no need for that space. These things have to be where they are. This is, as you can see, a fancy way or a brick built way of doing this. And this is from my buddy Chris. Showed me this years and years and years ago, actually from our first robot competition. This is a worm to 24 housing that's built with half beams and butter. This is what that does, but of course this is a lot smaller than this. My original robotic arm used this piece in the back, but it just took up too much room and it looked too bulky compared to the rest of it. So I used the worm to 24 holder, this guy. And then basically this is the lower arm, and the lower arm pivots right here. And I should have left the pieces down here so I could show you. The lower arm just pivots here, and so it's got a little. I'm not gonna be like Jason to build the whole thing, but I'm gonna do this part so you can see. And I'll get into something else later, show you how the whole thing works together. So basically, this is the lower arm, it pivots there. And then there's another worm to 24. And the other worm to 24 is for the upper arm, which is this guy. And the upper arm just, again, stays on top of the thing. And so now you got the three distinct different parts. And what I did is I built the three different distinct parts in here. So this is a manual guy. I didn't have a red Technic 24 tooth gear, so I just substituted with orange. So forgive me, this is orange, but it corresponds to the red. The gray corresponds to the gray, and the white corresponds to the white. So let's turn this thing around so it's gray. And all they do is they got the little crown gears, the 16 tooth crown gears in there, so that to pass the power up. So the gray one is just this crown gears gear train to this guy, 8 tooth that goes to the turntable. That's all it does, and it can spin around. The white has to come up through the 16 tooth gear there, as you can see it in there, and then that transfers power to the 16 tooth gear on the bottom of the differential housing, so it interfaces with that guy, and then that differential housing passes the top is a 24 tooth gear, which then passes the power over to this 8 tooth gear. It's white, so you follow it's white to here, white to here, and then that white goes to a 3L axle, which goes to this 3-length universal instead of the 4. The 4 will not work here, and I couldn't find a 3 for the life of me. I actually really go looking for it because I have old Technic, not too much new Technic. Anyway, so this white goes to this universal because this thing obviously has to go back and forth. So you can't have a straight axle going to this worm to 24. You have to have it on a universal so you can pivot with the bottom arm. But anyway, so the top arm goes from this 8 L gear to the universal, or 8-tooth gear to the universal, to a 8L axle, which goes through this nice white worm gear up here. And so when you turn to white, that worm gear turns. So pretty neat, eh? So the worm gear turns, and if the worm gear turns, it turns the 24-tooth. Now I do put my my clutch gears here because if you go too far, you want it to start spinning, right? You want it to start spinning because the arm can't go anymore. So that's why I use the clutch gears there. Now, if you don't have clutch gears, you can try to substitute and make a bigger gear train that will have either the elastic belts or whatever to make it slip, but you need it to slip because as you can see, it's down exactly and it can't go any farther. So this makes it a lot easier. So this the top arm, pretty neat, you know, getting the power all the way up there. The bottom arm, again, orange instead of red because I don't have red. That red goes again to 1616 crown gears, which comes straight up through the center. It goes straight up through the center, straight up into this little red worm gear here, which is another worm to 24. And this is the 24 here. It's again a clutch gear. And so what happens is that you can pull it back, and of course it slips. The clutch gear has a 3L axle, which comes out to these half arms, these half studless beams, whatever you want to call them. And this is the 4-length because I need the axle hole and not just a pinhole. So it has, because of course you want it to go back and forth just like that. Now I will say that this thing is pretty loose. It's not that loose on my my motor driven one. I think that clutch gear was well used because this is hardly even grabbing. I guess a little bit. So so basically, that's the whole thing. And you can change the connection points to pivot points to make it go farther or shorter or whatever. This thing is infinitely, quote unquote, infinitely adjustable and variable. And you can just keep on doing what you want with it. And of course, for me, I had to, because running it manually is one thing. Running it by motors is something else. So I had to gear it down immensely, which is fine. This is the one problem with it, because this thing is now going to try to push this thing around like that. So you actually, this is why the motor comes in handy, because the motor cannot. If the motor's on here, is this block from spinning. But if you go like this, sometimes, oops, oh, is it? And it's also the slipping. Why is it slipping? Oh, I think the clutch gear shoes. Anywho, this is what happens in live TV. I think my 2L axle has popped out. Yes, it has. Let's see if I can get something in there to push it back down. This is live TV. Excellent. So you can see that this motor is now spinning. I mean, this gear is now spinning because this thing has got more torque on it, and so the turntable will spin. That's why with the motor on it, that won't spin at all. So that keeps it steady in place. But anyway, so you have three drivers, three power gear trains going in here. One for spinning the turntable, one's for spinning the upper arm, and one's for spinning the lower arm. So you know, it's kind of quick, efficient, easy to add to a layout. Easy to colorize. You can color it whatever you want. I use black and gray in my mine. I'd rather change it to all blue, but I don't think I have the pieces in all blue. But in the end, we'll hit that button again because we like watching it work. Oh, it just turned off. I forgot to change the... And in the end, you can put whatever you want on the end. Fake welder, fake light, whatever. I'm going to have a light coming out to mine. I'm just going to run a Rob Hendricks Lifelight's light to that guy instead of wasting another power output from an RCX. But so on mine, I had to put a gear train on the outside to gear it down because the motor spins too fast. So I did a 8 to 24, 8 to 24. So you can see right there on the output of the motor, 8 to 24, 8 there to 24. And so there's my slip gear there for this guy, because of course I don't have a slip gear on this guy because there's no stoppage on him. On the gray, on this guy here, I didn't put a slip gear on it. But here I'd have to, because I do have a stop at one point. I wanted to stop. So as for the rest of them, this guy doesn't have a slip gear in the bottom, because of course the slip gear is up here. The torque gear is up here for both the lower arm and the upper arm. But on the turntable, there's no slip gear. There's no torque gear. So in the end, it's really, really quick and easy to build, I think. And seriously, all pretty much historic parts. There's not too many new-ish parts in here at all. The 3L universal joint, yes, that's newer. I did have a 4 in there originally, and it did work-ish, but of course it wasn't perfect. So as soon as the 3L universal joints came out, because that's exactly where the pivot is where you want the universal to pivot. So I don't know if this helps anybody. I don't know if anybody's interested in building one. If you honestly do build one or make it better, more efficient, whatever, drop me a line, because I'd love to see it, because it is one of my favorite cute little creations that I built in my life. And again, there's a lot of things in there that I quote unquote borrowed from other people. Again, the 8 to 24 housing, using these guys here, and the two stud long, whatever you want to call those things. I always forget the names now. But it's very, very efficient, small, and it keeps the kids happy. It really does, because it's movement and it's going to be flashy lights, so it does keep the kids happy. Other than that, that's all I think I need to say this evening. If you are remotely interested, please build it. As I say, this is pretty simplistic. 3L axle there, 2L axle there, 3L axle there, 2L axle there, and of course this would just go right on top of the slip gear to go up and down. And I mean, it looks like a robotic arm. It's just something people like, and some things that people are used to. And it's not too complicated. It really isn't. The base is a dozen basic parts. That's a very basic piece. These are very big. This is a completely basic piece. The half bushings you can get anywhere. This is all old Technic stuff. That's all it is. You have to be careful with the half plate, the half beams that have the axles versus the pinholes, because you need a lot of ones with the axles. And you could have used the one that has the one stud wide at the bottom. I didn't. I thought it looked too knobby then, but you can do that. So if you don't have these guys without the flare out at the 4 stud mark right here, use those ones. I've done that before. It doesn't really matter. So anyway, I hope that helps. I hope that this was mildly interesting and amusing to you guys. I'm just going to put this in here temporarily because I don't have an axle. There you go. But there. Oh wait, I do have. Should actually look across my desk, because I did a lot of building to get these things. Again, because I couldn't do what Jason does, which is build it on the screen, because it was just, I'm not good that way. So there you go. There's the robotic arm without any of the mechanisms, the gearing and the worm gears and stuff like that. I think it's kind of cool. I really do. So get this down. There we go. Now I got 2 of them. I for this show, I do like the black and gray. This is colorful, so I could show you the different parts of the arm. I don't think I'll be putting this out in public. I just wanted to differentiate between the yellow base, the red lower arm mechanisms, and the white upper arm mechanisms. And I wanted to show you the white gear train to the upper arm, the red gear train to the lower arm. You can see the red, and then of course I didn't have a red 24 tooth, so that was my one disappointment about this whole thing. I really wanted a red 24 tooth gear, so I could do this and say, hey, look, this is red 24, the whole thing. But anyway, you get what you get. I'm gonna leave this thing together because it's just fun to, hey, here it is. Not too, I wouldn't mind trying to maybe try to build it into a smaller platform. But I don't know. Color me undecided. I will not worry about it too much at this point. 20 minutes. Yeah, I'm already talking too much. I'm droning on about nothing. So that's it. That's all. You guys, I hope everybody's doing well, again, as always, because doing well is very important for me. You guys doing well. You guys have left some really good feedback lately. I really appreciate that. You guys always left good feedback, but some really good feedback lately as well. And in the end, I will keep on putting these things out there, even if you don't reply. So that doesn't matter. But I do appreciate that you do reply and say hi and let me know what's going on in your world. And giving me inspiration, as I say, my friend Brian now from Battery Powered Bricks got me inspired like all weekend to change all my 9-volt wiring and make it better. I did source a new store on Amazon that will sell me that 50-foot roll, which is what I should have looked for first, at basically the same price that you're getting yours from. So I'm going to order one of those at some point. But right now, I haven't fully used up my 25-foot roll yet, and I did a lot of new wiring for my RCXs, and I did some train control, 9-volt train rails wiring. So I am golden for a while. It's when you do something like this, I'm actually amazed how quickly you do use up your wires, and I should have made more short pieces, 16 stud pieces. I'm going to make more of those before the week's over. That might use up the rest of my 25-foot spool, but then I'll just order another one. So that's it. That's all. You guys all stay safe. Take care, and I will talk to you soon.